please to forgive us our sins. And we ask you, Lord, to send the Holy Spirit to bless us with your holy presence and to bring your joy to us and the assurance, Lord, that we are loved and forgiven and we are your children. We pray for all who listen that you bless their lives.
Since I met Jesus, there's been a burning, oh, such a burden deep down within. And he holds me with his same power. And he keeps me.
Welcome to Super Tuesday. I'm back. That's right, I'm back in the studio. So good to be here this morning here in Common Square at Boston Praise Radio and TV. This morning, we're going to be talking about a resource guide that we developed for Dunk the Vote. It is called The Black Book. And we're really excited about this document because of what's going on in our society now with the ICE raids and the injustices that we're facing. It's important that we educate our community about how to survive and how to protect yourself. So we developed the Black Book to give you a resource that you to know what to do if you are violated, if your rights are taken, and if you're dealing with some of the things that are going on in this new administration. So let me just talk a little bit about the Black Book. I'm going to just go over the Black Book right now. Civil rights violations happen every day, but most go unreported. One way to protect yourself is to know your own rights and exercise them. Every person in the United States, including non-citizens, has guaranteed rights granted by the Constitution and other laws. These rights may be violated by government officials, as we see today, and others, because resources exist to help prevent this from happening and to seek justice when it does. This booklet is a resource. It will help anyone who carries it become familiar with their rights, to recognize when they are being violated, and to have information they need to act and protect themselves. This booklet covers rights broadly and also 4 specific areas of common violations. Number 1, voting rights. And for those of you that have not registered to vote, you can go to boston.gov/elections. You can vote in the Boston election, or mass.gov. Voting rights, racial profiling, immigrant rights, and police brutality. The rights listed are not all the rights you have. Those included are some of the most commonly violated. The following information is not legal advice. Let me just remind you, this is not a legal binding document. It is recommended that you contact an attorney regarding any specific legal matters. Now, I want to go through all the different areas that we just covered: the voting rights, immigrant rights, police brutality, and racial profiling. But before that, I want to give you some statistics. 1 million American civilians experience police threat or use of force each year. And police are twice as likely to use force against Black and Latino people, according to the CDC, contact between police and public. For example, in Massachusetts, according to the 2020 report by Massachusetts Legislative Black and Latino Caucus, Black and Latino individuals are disproportionately stopped, searched, and arrested. Okay? Now, there's something else that a lot of Americans don't even, 1 out of 10 of Americans is not aware of their First Amendment rights to petition or the grievance of redress. So, therefore, there's a number of things going on in our society that's just not right, and we need to make sure that we provide you with the services that are needed. I'm going to go through all the different areas that we discussed. The civil rights, equal protection under the law. Let me get my little specs here because I can't even see this little writing here. Equal protection under the law. You have the right to equal treatment under the law regardless of your race, gender, religion, or national origin. This is in our first section. Freedom of speech. You have the right to express yourself in opinions and beliefs without fear of retaliation, and freedom of assembly. You have a right to peacefully assemble and protest. Examples. An employee may not overlook someone for a job because of their nationality or gender. A school district must provide education for a child, even if they are undocumented. All people have the right to speak with an attorney before answering questions from law enforcement. So there are a number of people that have had encounters with law enforcement, and I want to hear from you this morning, 617-282-0685. If you've had a good or bad experience with law enforcement, we want you to call in and give us your experience. Number 2, voting rights. We have voting rights as our number 2 document. Oh, before I go to voting rights, we have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on Boston Praise Radio on TV.
Ron Bell, it's Singer. How are you doing?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you, and congratulations on the publication of your manual here.
Thank you so much, man. It was a good story you wrote on it, too, man.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed going out with you, and that's the reason I wanted to call is that, I was interested that you have been going out into Black communities to distribute this, even though we think of this conversation really at the moment around immigrant communities. And I'm sort of curious about what reception you've been getting. When you and I went to Silver Slipper, you're a pretty smart canvasser, right? You get an object in their hand, and then you start talking to them about it. What is your sense of whether people in the Black communities are seeing this and understanding the importance of it?
Well, the Black community has been dealing with this for a number of years, decades, and I think that the response has been great. I mean, the story that you wrote, and when it was picked up by News One, I've started getting calls from all over the country. So people realize that this is an important document. There's been even talk about us turning it into an app, but I think the feel of having a physical document is so important. So people are really excited about this. They're getting on board, and we're looking to develop a package where we can be able to sell bundles so that we want to get it out to as many people as possible.
And what about classrooms? Have you made any sort of effort or thought about getting it to? It strikes me that I think one of the guys that we ran into in the restaurant said something like, "Oh, the teenagers need this because they think they got rights they don't have."
Right. Yeah, it's become normalized. Some folks don't even realize their civil rights are being violated. Like, for instance, if you have brothers on the hood just hanging out on the corner, when police pull up on them, they just immediately say, "Oh, we're going to get searched." It's become normalized. So, yes, we have thought about going into classroom. Again, it's just a matter of getting a inventory. That's basically what it is. And, we're going to hit not only high schools, but also colleges, churches, community-based organizations, and actually corporate and small businesses. That's been the framework of Dunk the Vote organizing model, the 5 C's. So we're trying to hit every sector.
And inventory. Like, you mean you got to get these things printed?
We got to get them printed, man, and it costs money. And so, so yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be this popular. Tom Pillar, who's the designer who works closely with me, he's in the studio with me today, and we didn't realize that this was going to be, I know I get vision, I know I get, good ideas and all that, but it's good to have someone that's going to actually create the document, because I can't even turn on the computer sometimes.
Yeah, careful what you pray for, right?
Be careful what you pray for. But but we're excited about it. And, although it's unfortunate that 20 years ago, I was giving out DWB packets, Driving While Black, a packet that was developed by the ACLU. And now 20 years later, now I'm giving out Know Your Rights Black books. So it's, when you take 5 steps, you take 3 steps backwards. So we make progress and then we go backwards. And so that's kind of frustrating, but you got to keep on keeping on.
Well, I'm going to keep on listening to your show, Ron. Thanks for taking the time, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you so much. So we're going to continue with the Black Book. If you feel your civil rights may have been violated, document the incident. Write down details and document as much as you can. Remember about the incident, including dates, times, location, and the people involved. Take photos and videos. Document any evidence, save them, and make copies. Keep records of it. Communications with authorities, ACO or other organizations. So the phones are ringing off the hook. I haven't even got through the document yet. Caller, you're live on Boston Praise Radio and TV.
Peace, brother. This is Jamal. How you doing?
Hey, Jamal. How you doing? I miss you, man.
Miss you too, brother. Glad to hear you back on the airwaves.
Thank you so much. What's going on?
All right. So, congratulations on the book. I seen it. I want to get a copy.
Okay.
So, if you're in the neighborhood or whatever, you can leave one for me down at Frugal Bookstore, down Nubian or the church, whatever, so I can pick one up unless I see you first.
Okay.
And also, too, because a lot of people don't know history, I think the name is classic, being that, there was a green book, a red book.
Right,
with some revolutionary instructions. And also, too, I see this as a building on of the work of the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, the ACLU even. Have all produced some documents relative to know your rights. So I think it's an important thing. The thing that I would caution people, too, is now in this modern day time of social media and YouTube and all that, see, free speech does not allow you to just stand in front of my house and call me, everything but a child of God.
Right.
At 5 a.m, right? So people also need to understand the limits of some of this and particularly for teenagers, while if a cop is giving you a hard time, you can certainly tell him, his mama's ugly, but that might not be the wisest course of action.
Right.
So your rights, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. There's some times where, I just don't want people to get excited, because I see a lot of this stuff on YouTube now where people are actually escalating the situation.
Right.
When, to me, they should be avoiding the situation, be wary of their rights, but don't try to engage with law enforcement, because 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a losing battle.
Right. Well, this document is not the end to all. It's not the final document. I mean, because I can't guarantee that you're going to have due process, as we've seen in the current administration with folks being snatched up. But it does give you a starting point. And one thing I also want to say, there's a listing of the police and accountability officer. I know you did some work with them, Jamal. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so when we were assembled as the Boston Police Reform Task Force in 2020 by then Mayor Marty Walsh, group of us came together. It was like myself, Wayne Budd, Tanisha Sullivan, Reverend Jeff Brown, Darren Howell, Allison Cartwright, Marie St. Fleur, Javier Flores, and I hope I didn't forget anyone. If I did, pardon myself. That was off the top. But we came together, we did work. A lot of our police reform in my view, unfortunately got boiled down to the thing that everybody gravitated towards was the OPAT, the Civilian Review Board. But we actually issued like 32 different reforms.
Right.
But among those, the OPAT, the Civilian Review Board, and the reforming of what used to be the co-op, Community Ombudsman Oversight Panel, reforming that into IOP or EOP, Internal Affairs Oversight Panel. So we tightened that up. And then, of course, on the state level, I'm the guy who introduced police decertification to the state of Massachusetts, which is now, been called POST. But POST is the mechanism by which if an officer is a bad actor, that they can actually lose their license to be a police officer, and then that prevents them from going from here to another, city or state across the country. So proud of that work, and there's been some public critiques of how well those things are working, but I think it's certainly is better than what we've had in the past, and I urge people to take advantage of both of those things. So yeah, if you see something, say something. They can't file reports if people are not, making reports.
That's
you know what I mean?
Right. But this is a statistic that I want to say. Massachusetts had 2,552 complaints of police misconduct between 2016 and 2020, with only 17% of complaints being in favor of the individuals who filed the complaints. How is that? Has that better? You said that's better with the Police and Accountability Office?
No, I'm saying now we have a mechanism going. Now, like everything, we need a groundswell of people in the community that are going to push these specific issues to now say, okay, you put legislation forth or you create something, then you find out loopholes, you get the boat afloat, you find out where it's leaking, and then you plug up those leaks. So, it's not working at 100%. And that's what we need to strive for. And I say that at both the city or the state level. And the problem is, in my view, is that police departments and the state police still have too much, influence on the outcomes of those disciplines. And, 9 times out of 10, they are going to vote on the side of their officers.
Right.
And that is ultimately the problem. And as any kind of civilian panel, because they're unionized and all that, we don't have the rights to kind of oversee what a commissioner or a state police colonel or whatever decides.
Right.
So that is kind of the last, I think, little loophole or piece of red tape that we really need to get maybe even like independent arbitrators of these things, because clearly the police have shown for decades that the police cannot police themselves.
Right. Well, there's a section in the Black Book, Know Your Rights Guide, that we developed. It's if you're a victim of a witness to police brutality, file a complaint to the proper department. Police departments often have internal affair departments or designated police accountability officers. If this is not in the case, you should directly contact the chief of police with your complaint or the city or town manager. And here are some of the numbers here that would be helpful for folks who are listening. Boston Office of Police Accountability and Transparency, 617-635-4224, www.boston.gov. Then we have the Massachusetts Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission, 617-701-8401, www.policecomplaints.mass.gov /complaint. Injured, take photos and videos. It's important to document as much as possible, including your injuries. Write down everything you can about the incident, including officers' badge numbers. Witness, record from a safe distance, not secretly. As long as you're not interfering, you have a right to observe and record in public. Others involved may have a right to know they are not being recorded, so you must clearly show you are recorded if you are doing so. And here are some other numbers here. Mass Commission Against Discrimination, the National Police Accountability Project, and the Massachusetts Lawyer Referral Service. So we've tried to condense everything into this little document so that people can at least have a starting point where they'll be able to know their rights. So thanks, Jamal, for calling, and really appreciate your work you're doing. and keep on keeping on. And I do have books here at Global Ministries, Boston Praise Radio and TV. I'm leaving some with Pastor Bruce Wall. And also we have some, I dropped some down at Frugal with our Liddy, and I actually have to give him some more because I only left about 30 or 40 of them. But thanks again for calling in, my man.
Okay, two more things before you go.
Okay.
Also, too, sometimes I get mad at you when you do things like this. You and Pastor Wall do some of the same types of things. You take on a big project and you don't holler at people who could help you.
Okay.
So, brother, when you talk about printing a book and how expensive it is,
Uh-huh.
well, that's what I do. I guarantee you I can find you printing for cheaper.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So that's number one. And the other thing I'd like to say is any of this that you would like to get, like, on the web, because, for instance, some of these lists that you have could already just be on a web page or something, right?
Right.
And then you could be shooting people the link. I will help you do that as well, sir, for free. Okay?
All right. That sounds very good to me. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I definitely need some help. And Tom
And I'm
is
making my own. Mine is going to be called the Beige Book.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks a lot, man. You take care of yourself.
Have a good one, brother.
You too, man.
Great.
So we're going to continue with the voting rights. This is one of my favorite expertise. It's voting rights. Right to vote. You have the right to vote in federal, state, and local elections if you are a U.S. citizen, 18 years or older, and meet state residency requirements. Protection from voter suppression. You have the right to vote without facing unnecessary barriers. Language access. You have the right to language assistance when voting. And so here are some examples as relates to voting rights. Number one, individuals spreading the false information such as misrepresenting facts about polling locations being closed. Two, systematically closing polling locations in minority-dominated neighborhoods, as we experienced in the last election. I remember in 2006, when we worked on Deval Patrick's campaign, we ran out of ballots in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. Not providing staff or translation services that allow non-English speakers to vote. So on election day, these are some helpful tips to help you as you go to the polling locations. The primary election is September 9th, I believe, and the general election is November 4th. So this year, so make sure you go out and vote. We have a number of elections coming up. We have the mayoral election with about 5 candidates that are running, and then we also have city council elections. If you are in line when the polls close, stay in line. You have the right to vote. A lot of folks realize when the polling location closes, when it turns 8 o'clock, if you're in line, you can actually vote. Don't let anyone tell you can't vote and start locking the doors or anything. If machines are down, ask for a paper ballot. This is a big one here. If you are told your name is not on the voting rolls, request a provisional ballot. As long as you are properly registered, your vote will count. Bring a family member or friend, not an agent or an employee of a union, to help you vote if you need physical or language assistance. And so let me just talk a little bit about the provisional votes. When you're getting these census tracts, when you get the information in the mail about census, make sure you fill that out. That's one way that City Hall and town halls purge lists. So make sure you fill out your census. When you get that in the mail, make sure you fill that out so that you're not removed from the voting locations or voting polls. Okay, let me get the last. The numbers here for the voting is as follows. If you run into trouble in election, call the Massachusetts Election Division Hotline, 1-800-462-VOTE, or the nonprofit Election Protection Hotline. We have it in English, they have Spanish, Arabic, and other different languages. We actually just developed a Spanish black book, and we're going to be distributing again once we get the resources to fund it. The next section is racial profiling. Protection from discriminatory stops. You have the right to be free from police stops based on your race, ethnicity, or national origin. You have the right to know why you were being stopped. You have the right to know why you were stopped or detained by law enforcement, and you have a right to file a complaint if you believe you were racially profiled. Some examples: police officers pulling over disproportionately more non-white drivers in certain neighborhoods. 2, officers refusing to answer the question, am I being detained? Number 3, ticketing one driver or a group of speeders because they are a certain race. If you feel you're being racially profiled, stay calm and cooperative. It is essential to remain calm and composed even if you feel your rights are being violated. Avoid arguing or resisting, as this can escalate the situation. Ask for identification and badge number. Now, I'm giving you all these steps, and sometimes we know that it can get very, very difficult when you're in a situation. You get stressed, you get nervous, but if you could just read this 2 times, just read this and get this in your spirit so that you can understand what to do just in case you're faced with this situation. Ask for identification and badge. Politely ask the official for their name, badge number, and the reason for the stop or detention. Know your rights. Remember that you have the right to remain silent and a right to an attorney. Should you need to exercise this right, state, I am exercising my right to remain silent. Document the encounter. Take note of the details of the encounter, including the date, time, location, and the officer's behavior. If possible, take photos or videos of the scene. File a complaint if you feel your rights have been violated. File a complaint with the relevant authorities, such as the Police Department Internal Affairs Division or a Civilian Review Board. That's, I believe, what Jamal was talking about. In addition to the organizations like NAACP, ACU, you can also contact the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office, Civil Rights Division, 617-963-2917. So if you've had any encounter with the law enforcement, whether it's negative or positive, good or bad, call in 617-282-0685. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you about your encounters with law enforcement and how did it make you feel? I want to hear from you. Callers that are out there listening, viewers that are listening. We are working on getting this document to as many Massachusetts residents as possible. And if you're interested in getting a document, you can go to our website, www.dunkthevoteforever.org. www.dunkthevoteforever.org. We have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on Boston Praise Radio and TV.
Good morning, Ron Bell. This is Charlotte Golai Ritchie.
Hey, Charlotte.
And congrats on your Black Book.
Thank you so much.
I have a copy.
All right.
I've read it.
So what do you think about it?
I think it is a very handy, important resource guide.
All right.
That will help people. And one thing that I want to highlight is you list, various agencies, and you've mentioned that on your show. And included among them are the Mass Commission Against Discrimination, where I worked 8 years ago, and the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office. I mean, just having these numbers handy.
Right.
You've listed out some of the key points around knowing your rights, but just having these numbers available, knowing how to get in touch with people who can help you is important. But Ron, I just have to say that, I've known you for, more than 20 years, and we've worked together, and you care about people.
Thank you.
And I think that's what this book signifies. It represents that, you care about people and want them to be safe and want them to be safe and secure. And one way they can do that is by knowing, like you say, knowing their rights.
Yes. And you and I have another project we're working on June 10th. GBH and Mass Inc. will have George Floyd 5 years later. And if you can talk a little bit about that, because I don't have the information in front of me.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you for bringing that up, and maybe this conversation that you and I are going to be involved in or are involved in, is connected
Right.
to your caring about community and wanting people to know about what's going on and knowing their rights. I mean, you just convened a lot of people with a rally in Mattapan. That was last week.
Right.
And that was for us to not forget
Right.
what happened to George Floyd, right?
Mm-hmm.
To remember, to remember what happened in the past, but also acknowledge that what the progress is as well.
Right. And you
Right.
know, one of the things we did at the rally actually was in Milton. We were supposed to to walk to Mattapan, but we had everyone take a knee for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And that is a long time, Charlotte, to be on your knee. And to have someone's knee on your neck, that is it's just horrific. So,
want to acknowledge that you're reminding people of this is important. And you did this in partnership with others, which is something that you're an expert at doing, and so we want to give a shout out certainly to your co-convener Karen Gross-Horan, and around that, and even though it was bad weather day and all of that stuff, you were able to bring people in to mark that important date. So this conversation that you and I are involved in, I'm sort of tapping into my old journalism roots, I guess you could say.
Right.
Which that was sort of something I got involved in before getting into politics and all of that. But I'm working with GBH, like you said, GBH and Mass Inc. have partnered to have, and so I'm kind of the lead producer in putting together a series of conversations. And so I want to thank you for participating in this conversation with Karen Gross-Horan and also Sergeant David Hernandez, who co-chairs JAGO, which is a Latino law enforcement organization. He's going to participate in the conversation. And the guide, the moderator for the conversation will be Rasan Hall, who we all know, President CEO of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts. And so this is happening, like you said, on Tuesday, June 10th at 1 o'clock. It's a lunchtime conversation on GBH's. They have a webinar platform. It's the GBH Forum Network. So it's a webinar. And I have the address, so if your audience can grab a pen, they can write this down.
Sure.
So the address for this webinar is bit.ly/after-George-Floyd. So I could repeat that. It's bit.ly/after-George-Floyd. And like you said, Ron, the title, 5 years later, reflecting on the legacy of George Floyd. So, what's happened since that fateful day, and what kind of progress are we making here in Massachusetts, and what are some of the communities doing? You and Karen exemplify what some communities are doing. So we're going to talk about that.
All right. Thank you, Charlotte, for calling in. And we have callers. The phones are ringing off the hook. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And then I'll see you on the 10th.
Thank you to you and Pastor Wall.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Caller, you're live on Boston Praise Radio and TV.
Brother. Hey.
What's up?
Good morning.
How you doing, Zakia?
Oh, man, it's a good day. It's a good day. I was just so excited to get up early in the morning for this retiree and come on the radio, Boston Praise Radio, and listen to what my brother Ron Bell has to say. And to hear Pastor Bruce Ball's voice when I called in warms my heart.
Wow.
But I want to say, building off what others have said, including wonderful to hear Charlotte Gola Richie's voice.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Wonderful. And Jamal, of course. What can we do as organizations? You know, like I belong to several organizations here in Boston. How can we partner with Dunk the Vote to spread this to more people, the Black Book?
Well, we're in the process of developing a store online where folks can purchase, with a capital P, purchase booklets. Yeah, they can purchase booklets because, of course, you know, they cost money. They, you know, each book is at least $5 a piece, right? To print. Never mind shipping fees and you know.
No, never mind your investment of time, talent, and treasure.
That's right. All right, the three T's. Okay.
3 T's. I got that from Dr. Jocelyn Elders.
Okay.
When she came to speak at one of the, or maybe the last Black Massachusetts Legislative Black Caucus dinners we used to have up in Grove Hall.
Right.
At the she said that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But yeah, if they can purchase the booklets and distribute it, we're trying to get it to many Massachusetts residents as possible. That's one way. If they're interested in a training, we could provide that as well. Dunk the Vote personnel. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing now. We're in the beginning stages of getting the store in place because we didn't realize the demand would be so high, but we're confident that we're able to meet the needs because it's such an important document.
Well, that's great, and I hope there's a way, or maybe another organization that's got. Well, I would love to see a place where people could log in their experiences with the Black Book, like if they've been able to use it to protect themselves, what they've learned from it.
Right.
Because this is just a wonderful resource to have for these perilous times. Right.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe there can be a section on the website we would be able to get comments and get feedback from some of our listeners. One of the things that we did as far as the developing this document was to get input from over 100 people that looked at it, made recommendations. So it was really a community organizing effort to really, as we say in organize, the best experts, those closest to the problem, right? And so we were able to really get people's feedback as we were developing it so that we were able to get a very good document that's developed not only by Tom and I, but also by the community and the Dunk the Vote team.
How long are you on the air this morning, brother?
Until 9 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Well, I better move on and let other people chime in.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Zakia. You take care.
Okay. Peace.
The next section that we're going to cover, which is a very important subject, as all of them are, is immigrant rights. And the immigrant rights, again, you have a right to due process. Although it's not going on now, it's something that is supposed to happen. It's the law. You have the right to a fair and speedy deportation hearing, right to legal representation. You have a right to, during deportation proceedings, protection from unlawful detention. You have a right to be free from unlawful detention by immigration authorities. Here are some examples. A person awaiting a deportation hearing is held under inhumane circumstances. A non-immigration officer demands a person's immigration status. An immigrant family is denied an apartment because they are suspected of being undocumented by the landlord. So these are some of the areas that are very important for the immigrant rights, and we will go over the others after we take this caller. Caller, you're live on Boston Praise Radio.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I admit that I haven't had a chance to read the Black Book yet. I hope to do it soon.
Is this Pastor Dan?
It is Pastor
How
Dan.
you doing,
yeah.
man?
I'm still doing fine.
Good. Good. I said I recognize his voice. Okay.
Well, you're one of the few that do. Most people don't.
Okay.
Until I say something and they go, "Oh, it's Pastor Dan." Yeah.
Okay. Here you go, Pastor Dan.
Yeah.
No, so go ahead.
The question I have is, I've been driving all my life. Just leave it like that. And I've been stopped more times than I want to admit. But when you talk about rights and being stopped, what seems to have worked for me, well, actually, what works for me is yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to walk away from situations that should have really, put me in a bag. And I've still gotten tickets, or I've still been rightly cited for things that I've done wrong. What in the Black Book when you discuss being stopped by the police, how do you handle it? As I said, I haven't had a chance to read it. Having given you my tools, what are your tools, or what do you advocate for?
Well, I agree with you, and we actually went over that. I'm trying to see where did I have that. If you feel you are being racially profiled, stay calm and cooperative. It's essential to remain calm and composed, even if you feel your rights are being violated. Avoid arguing or resisting, as this can escalate the situation. So we're trying to really de-escalate the situation because we don't want anyone getting killed.
Right.
Ask for identification and badge number politely, as you did. Yes, sir. No, sir. Ask the official for their name, badge number, and the reason for the stop or detention. And I understand that it can be very tense. It can be very difficult at times, depending on the officer. And remember, you have the right to remain silent and right to an attorney. Should you need to exercise this right, state, I am exercising my right to remain silent. And then we have a section that says document the encounter, take note of the details of the encounter, including the date, time, location, the officer's behavior. If possible, take photos or videos of the scene. Then last but not least, you have a right to file a complaint. If you feel your rights have been violated, file a complaint with the relevant authorities, such as the Police Department, Internal Affairs Division, or Civilian Review Board. In addition, organizations like the NAACP or ACLU, you can also contact the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office Civil Rights Division. So these are some of the areas, again, it may not all go that smooth, but at least you have a starting point. At least you'll be able to file a lawsuit, possibly, if everything works out.
That's great. That sounds like good, solid advice. Excellent.
So next time
Good job.
Thank you, man. That means a lot coming from you, the Pastor Dan. So we have some at the studio. If you're interested in getting some copies for your ministry, let me know. If you're interested in ordering a bundle of books.
I probably will order a bundle of books just because I want to support the brother. I want to support what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And pass them out. The other, as I said, one of the things that I have noticed is if the police and now they're attempting to be polite because they have the cameras on, but you still can kind of figure out, unfortunately, because we are so used to, we have sixth sense, as it were, when it comes to whether it's a genuine or whether I know the camera's on, so I'm going to do this by the book.
Right.
Type of thing. And I've had police officers tell me, listen, I'm not trying to give you a ticket, but I'm going to yell at you for a few minutes because what I thought you did was stupid.
Right.
So in that situation, it's good to not, as you said, escalate.
Right.
None of us, myself starting at the top, want to be yelled at.
Right.
We just don't want to do it. But then you have to weigh that being yelled at with how are you going, if you get yelled at and drive away, as
Right.
opposed to if you stand there and as you say, escalate the situation. What
Right.
would be the outcome?
Right. Well, I had an experience with racial profiling. I was facilitating a dialogue in Milton, trying to bring black and blue together, trying to bring black and the white community together in Milton. And then when I went to the store in Mattapan, 2 white officers came up to me and said, they were about to arrest me because they thought I was somebody else. And fortunately, another police officer drove by that I knew, was like, "Hey, Ronnie," Mission Hill, of course. And because he knew me, that de-escalate the situation. There was no problem or what have you. Had he not drove up, it could have got really ugly. And come to
Exactly.
yeah. So this is just a boilerplate to use, a framework to use to be able to help folks be able to deal with their situation when they encounter injustice.
Right, and keep in mind that injustice is, and Dan said this, so this ought to be interesting. There's an injustice factor that's inherently built into the system.
Right.
That we always have to be mindful of, but not always. It's not always apparent or evident.
Right.
And we don't want to say it's this when it truly isn't that. There are some police. There are a great many. As a matter of fact, truthfully, the majority of the police officers out there are doing a heck of a job, thankless at best, and misunderstood at worst when it comes to every traffic stop could be the end of their life.
Right. Right. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is that I actually got a call from DA Kevin Hayden yesterday, and he really likes the book, and he may be getting some as well and help support our efforts. So it's good when law enforcement supports this effort as well. So and again, this is not to say all law enforcement are bad officers, because in my question at the beginning of this broadcast was the fact that if you've had an experience with law enforcement, whether it be good or bad, because I want to make sure folks know it's not like we're out bashing law enforcement. We're not. We're just trying to protect ourselves. We care about people. We love people, and we need to do what we can to help our community.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's a thankless job.
Yeah,
it's a thankless job, and none of us. And then the other part of this is going forward.
Right.
How do we keep ourselves in a situation where my goal is to keep my license current, my bills paid, my car is insured, all of the things that my inspection sticker current, all of the things that don't pose red flags.
Right.
So when I'm driving, I'm anonymous. You don't necessarily know me. I'm not going to be in the front of the speeding line. I'm not going to be behind the last car in the speeding line. I'll be somewhere in the middle of the line where we're all going a little over 65, because I've driven all across this country, and I've driven at 75 miles an hour, and the cops drive past me like I'm standing still, because that's not speeding to them.
Okay, Dan. So Dan,
there's
listen,
a lot of stuff.
We could talk all morning. We have some at the station here, some black books, and I look forward to having a conversation with you about getting a bundle. All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Take care. Peace.
So if ICE, which is it's in the news a lot, comes to your door, Immigration and Customs Enforcement can only come into your home if you have a warrant signed by a judge. They may try and mislead you into letting them in. Never simply open the door. You can ask them to slide a warrant under the door. Well, I don't know. What I've seen on TV lately, I don't even know if this would work, right? Okay. Do not open the door. Remain silent. Stay calm and do not run. If they insist on entering, ask to see a warrant. You have the right to not sign any documents. Ask them to leave any document at the door. This could be agreement to leave the country, which would be harmful if signed. You have the right to speak to an attorney. I'm not answering any questions until I speak to an attorney. That's an example. And 2 good resources for immigration lawyers are, number 1, National Immigration Law Centers, 213-674-2812, and American Immigration Lawyers Association. So there you have it. It's the Black Book. Make sure you get a copy. It's a very good resource, pocket size. We wanted to make it like a passport. Make sure you get the hard copy. I know there's been talk about getting an app, and and when you see it online, www.dunkthevoteforever, it is not the same. So make sure you get a copy. We're going to be leaving them at local churches. We're going to have them at various high schools and colleges and other places. We'll make a list of the locations you could pick up your book. So we're really excited about this document. Let's work together to make sure we take care of each other. And see you next time. Take care. God bless you.